On Monday, the government's chief scientific advisor, Patrick Vallance, told the COVID inquiry that the now Prime Minister had not asked for advice regarding Eat Out to Help Out. But on the 9th of March 2 years ago, the Prime Minister told this House that, and I quote, "At all steps in the crisis, we have taken the advice of our scientific advisors."
Does the Chancellor accept that his refusal to follow the science by pitting public health against the economy led to worse outcomes for both?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I'd urge the Honourable Lady to be a little bit careful about what she reads in the newspaper. At all steps in this crisis, we have indeed taken the advice of our scientific advisers. If we go back to...
Who's right?
Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, as he knows, there is an ongoing statutory inquiry into COVID. It's absolutely right that that process is followed. I look forward to providing my own evidence in the coming weeks and addressing all these questions. But it was the case that the government took advice from scientific advisers, and again, that's exactly what this inquiry will go over. There were a significant range of other MPIs that were in place, including social distancing, COVID-secure guidance, table service, contactless ordering, one-way systems, all of which had been put in place. But the overall reopening of indoor hospitality had already been implemented and, as we discussed before, modelled and all the rest of it and involved scientists in that. And Eat Out to Help Out was designed to operate within that context of the safe lifting of MPIs. It didn't do anything further than that. This was a micro policy to make sure that that capacity, which the scientists had already said was part of an overall package which could be safely delivered, was actually used.
The contemporaneous documentation, including SAGE minutes, established that neither SAGE nor the GCSA was asked for advice on the impact of the Eat Out to Help Out policy.
My Lady, there's been particular focus placed during this module hearings on the Eat Out to Help Out scheme. Consumption is the largest component of GDP in the UK economy and vital to the performance of the macroeconomy. It was a scheme, as with all policy measures at that time, designed to operate within the boundaries of what was deemed safe at that time. During the Module 2 oral evidence hearings, the inquiry has explored with a number of witnesses, principally scientists, what they knew of the Eat Out to Help Out policy before its implementation, and adduced evidence that their reaction would have been one of concern regarding increased risk of transmission if they had been consulted on the detail of the policy. However, this was a policy which operated within the COVID-secure guidance in place at the relevant time.
Do you accept that the issue of Eat Out to Help Out was never raised by you or your department expressly at those meetings or at any other earlier meeting, and that by the date of those meetings, the scheme had already been announced following the Cabinet on the 8th of July and announced to the public the same day? It was already in place.
But why would I raise it as a risk when I didn't believe that it was, because it was designed in the context of a safe reopening? The onus is surely on the people who now believe that it was a risk to have raised it at the time when something could have been done about it if they felt strongly.
Why didn't you tell the Secretary of State for Health in a public health crisis before the 8th of July that you were planning on announcing, once it had gone through Cabinet that day, a scheme to Eat Out and Help Out? Why didn't you, bearing in mind that this was a scheme to encourage households to come together, and you'd been debating at the very same time the reduction in the 2 metre to 1 metre rules, say to the CMO, we have this plan. It's to encourage the economy to open up, to help the hospitality sector. There are very strong public policy reasons in support of it, but it's obvious there are transmission risks. Of course there were, but our position is it's all right. We are just simply going to have to do this in the greater good. But you never raised it at all with anybody outside Number 10.
Because, as would be completely normal for all economic policy before fiscal events, that's long-standing practice. It always has been so. I wouldn't have discussed the VAT cut on the hospitality sector with the Secretary of State for Health, or the stamp duty cut, or the grants. These are all either market-sensitive or economic issues.
Mr. Sunak, forgive me, those are all fiscal measures. The Eat Out to Help Out scheme encouraged more people, additional numbers from different households, to come together in restaurants to eat. it wasn't just a fiscal issue, it was a behavioural matter. Was it one that was applied across the whole of the United Kingdom?
Yes, but so were many of the economic interventions. But again, the point remains, indoor hospitality, all the points you made about people coming together and eating was already part of the May plan. At all steps in this crisis, we have indeed taken the advice of our scientific advisors. If we go back to